everyone, Majestic Mayhem here. I am a burlesque performer from London and I'm super excited to be here in Berlin at the SX Festival, an expo that is showcasing emerging trends and new cultures in the SX and FET space. This is all centered around innovation, futurism, community, education, unapologetic self-expression, content creation, and breaking through social stigmas and taboos. We are here to meet and speak to as many sassy wonders as we possibly can that are the explorers of intimacy, dating, kink, the seekers of Essex culture, and beyond the standard of the most futuristic pleasure products out there.
So I'm DJ Rusheed with Tingle.com, where we create aftercare gifting solutions to allow people to grow and strengthen their care and connection with their loved ones.
So we've just come out of the panel talk talking about sober SX and building a connection and community.
Yeah.
What would you say was your sort of main takeaway from the panel talk?
I'll say what attracted me to it, both personally and professionally. I'm sober. I'm seeing a lot of people in my life who they're starting this sober journey. So I was curious about the topic. I thought it was an interesting topic to begin with. To be in this space and the idea of sober intimacy. What does that really mean, right? And wanted to just learn some things that I can take home to people in my life. But also, when I think about my business with aftercare, the idea of like, what does aftercare mean for people who are going on this sober journey for the first time? And if you're in a relationship with someone who is going through this sober journey, what is your intimate experience? What's your role? How do you support them? And just to see where the conversation landed, just through the lens of aftercare. I see aftercare everywhere. A lot of my takeaways are around that.
Would you say that there was anything sort of new that you learned from the panel talk? Anything that they brought up that you hadn't really considered before?
Buzzwords like sober intimacy was something that a concept that I want to kind of just explore in my mind and think about further. Just the idea of people who are in the sex work profession and this idea of being sober in the sex work profession and how that could impact you. And the one panelist talking about the idea of adverse experiences being sober, right? And it was a party term she referenced.
The party bookings.
Yes, the party bookings, right? You know, and just that as a concept was interesting, how to navigate party booking environments in that ecosystem when you're a sober professional, right? So that was something that was enlightening.
You're coming to this festival from New York, that's sort of where your business is based. Do you see any sort of parallels or contradictions in the conversation around like using alcohol and substances in this space, or even soberness in this space between, you know, New York and Berlin, or America and Europe?
I would say that this is the first time I'm hearing of the conversation, right? And the fact that they gave it this much attention and a platform for it to be discussed in this panel or in this festival, I think is noteworthy. Really, we don't have anything like the sex festival in the States in general, let alone New York, right? You know, I think in Berlin, Germany, Europe, it's much more evolved in terms of the conversation around pleasure, wellness, the ecosystem from a business perspective. I think it's par for the course that we're having this conversation that is more evolved, just because the whole landscape and whole ecosystem here is a bit more evolved. That's why I flew here, right? You know, to be a part of it and just kind of learn.
Do you think there's anything maybe from this conversation then that you could bring back and try to implement?
I think that some of these concepts, the conversation around sober intimacy, you know, just even raising awareness to people in my network of, hey, this is a thing. How are we, you know, creating space for those who are sober, right? Who are attending our events, who are consumer groups, and bringing a conversation for them so they feel seen and they feel included. This is a real demographic, because it is, right? You know, as I mentioned before, there are a number of people in my life who are actually going through their own sober journey, and they still, you know, participate in lifestyle experiences and parties and events, and I've seen them navigate some of the emotions that they discussed on the panel in terms of fear, confidence, you know, how to now be in this space sober when I wasn't in the space sober, and now that I'm sober, I'm seeing things that, you know, I didn't see before, you know, and now I have to learn how to enjoy it differently, real time, right? You know, without a playbook. How do we get ahead of that conversation so that we can be better stewards, you know, for for our patrons and our consumers and our network who are going through a journey in these spaces.
So what would you say is one thing about sassiness that you would want to spread to your community?
Sassiness is something that enriches our lives, right? And I think we leave a lot on the table because we don't talk about it and conversate about it with each other, right? There are some very real reasons why we don't, that concern safety and comfort, right? But I always compare it to food. We prepare and engage and indulge in some amazing food because we share recipes, right? You might like lasagna and I talk about lasagna and then you say, hey, there's a way to add honey to the lasagna, and all of a sudden I'm adding honey to my lasagna and just expanding, what the experience is, right? We leave a lot on the table because we don't do that with sassiness, right? And so I think if we were more aware of the richness of our sassy experiences that we could tap into just by having conversation around it more, we unlock, this I think wellness, happiness, and satisfaction, and it's okay, to want that, right? When it comes to this conversation, right?
So. Well, now I think I need to figure out how to add honey to my lasagna.